Meet me after slashing your wrist, or at the end if you so insist. I'm persistent when told to cease and desist with this blasphemous shit.
Hello, Chalet. Trigger warning. These people are dying. And they're talking about it. I don't even know what to say to that.
Are you scared of dying?
I'm not scared about dying. I'm scared about leaving my family. The idea of not being there for my son when he needs me or being there for my wife, that's what scares me. I'm Brian Hill.
My name is Layla.
JJ Singleton.
JJ, how old are you?
I'm 34.
Do you know why you're here today, what we're talking about?
We're gonna talk about death and having a chronic condition that limits my life.
Just kind of out of nowhere, my kidneys failed and ended up in the hospital with end-stage renal disease.
6 years ago, I was diagnosed with a colon cancer, and a year later, it came back and spread throughout my body, and they told me it was a terminal diagnosis and incurable.
Are you dying?
Yes.
I would say yes.
So Parkinson's, it doesn't kill you, but the symptoms of it can lead to earlier death.
When did you first find out?
I was at 27 years old. I was going to college and started losing my vision, going blind, and that's when I ended up in the hospital. And by that point, I had about 5% function left in my kidneys, and then was really, really lucky and had a transplant, and was doing really well, and then unfortunately started rejecting.
I continue to fight, get chemo treatments.
But why get the chemo treatment?
Because I'm not ready to die yet. There's a lot left to do, and a lot of people I believe I can help.
When you first found out that you had Parkinson's, how did it feel in that moment?
It's a heavy question. I think leading up to my diagnosis, I knew I had Parkinson's. My mom had it, and the moment I was diagnosed, it was almost a relief. As weird as that sounds, knowing what's going on with your body is better than not knowing.
I was losing an extreme amount of weight. I couldn't use the bathroom. And then at the end, my skin was turning gray is when my mom made me go to the doctor.
When you found out, were you angry?
It's like a sense of desperation, or it was kind of just like a freeze, you know? It was that disassociation of like, how could this be happening to me? I'm young, I'm supposed to have my whole life ahead of me, and you know, if I didn't go into the hospital, I think when I did, I may have not lasted more than like another week.
There are times where I'm very angry, and that anger it's terrifying. It's so terrifying I push it away. Yeah.
Is that good to push it away?
No, it's not. And as you can see, as we're talking, I'm becoming more dyskinetic because that stress from the anger is coming up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's good. It's good.
Do you feel like you're dying?
Some days I really do. Like some days my body feels like it's just rejecting and falling apart. That's the days where I really feel like it's still controlling my life and don't have that much time left.
My body is working really, really hard just to keep up with the normalcy of what life is.
What does it feel like?
Closest way I can describe it as the worst your body's ever felt after like a physical activity, mix it with having the worst flu you've ever had, and that's just the very tip of the iceberg.
Dude, it feels like shit. So, like if you work out real hard and the next day you wake up and you're achy, it's like that times almost 100.
Over the last 7 years, I've had many bouts of wanting to give up. At one point, I was very close to calling it quits and just committing suicide. And luckily, I had some very good friends that helped me see that I do have a purpose. But even still, with family and friends helping me, there's days where it's like, don't know if this life is worth it sometimes.
Do you feel like you live your life differently now?
Yes. I do not take things for granted. I try to live in the moment.
I try to look at it as a blessing and knowing that I was given a lens to look in through different than most.
I don't take the little things for granted, like such as getting up to pick up my son. Those moments when I'm able to do that, I appreciate them so much more.
Has it affected your sex life?
When I was on dialysis, it did, because your kidneys are kind of part of your sexual chi. I'd say now it hasn't at all. And I tell them, that I'm immunosuppressed and that, we just need to be really careful. I make sure that they get tested.
How has cancer affected your sex life?
Very, very much so. Like, it is virtually non-existent. So there's stages where it's just like, it don't enter my mind at all for weeks.
It takes a little bit more thought process, like, hey, we're gonna do it in an hour, take your medication.
Which makes it so romantic.
Oh yeah, like, hey baby, I just took my pill. Half hour, it's go time.
Are you scared?
Not anymore. I was when I was diagnosed, but I've came to terms with it. Whenever it happens, it's gonna happen.
Are you scared of dying?
I'm not scared about dying. I'm scared about leaving my family. The idea of not being there for my son when he needs me or being there for my wife, that's what scares me.
Suffering, no one wants to suffer.
Have you done everything that you wanted to do?
No. Like, I'm not afraid to die, but I still want to travel. I want to impact more people in the cancer community with my story. I want to help better people's lives, really.
No, I haven't done everything I wanted to. I want to raise my son. I want to watch him grow up. I want to be there for my wife. And to know that there may come a time where I can't show up for my family. Yeah, those are the moments where I think I worry about dying early.
What do you think it will feel like?
I hope it's painless. I hope it's, kind of slipping into the void.
It's going to feel like an escape.
Is that a good feeling?
I think it will be.
The way this condition works, eventually I will lose control of my body and I will be a prisoner in my body. So I think that time when I do die, I will feel like I'm being set free from a body that had failed me.
When you pass, what are the plans?
I don't know. I like the idea of doing like an end of life party. And I've told, I've always been very open about what my wishes are when I die. I want to be cremated and made into a tree.
Have you made plans?
They will definitely involve being cremated and some kind of big, dramatic, goofy gesture.
Who's not invited?
If you have an opinion of me or I've made an impact in your life, good or bad, you're more than welcome, because by that point, I'm not going to hold anything against you.
What asshole's going to be happy you're dead?
I don't think anyone. And I don't know if that's me being just, hopefully not full of myself.
Oh man, who's gonna be happy I'm dead? Probably someone who's just looking to take my spot and be with my wife.
Do you think about that?
Not until now.
I'm sorry.
I don't know. I don't have people that would just be like, I hate him. I'm glad he's dead. But if there is out there, at least I'll make his day.
What's one thing you're going to miss when you're gone?
Just sensation, right? We get to eat and feel and hug and have these emotions that are so moving, and that's all going to be gone when you're no longer here.
People, just the experiences that you have with different people, that's one of the best feelings that you could ever have. Just randomly somebody comes into your life, changes it, and makes you truly feel like you're special and they're special.
What are you going to miss the most when you're gone?
I'm gonna miss sex, that's for damn sure. No, in seriousness, I'm gonna miss living. I think it's something that we take for granted. And with Parkinson's, little aspects of living are taken away from me as the disease progresses. So I think in a way, this sounds horrible, but in a way I'm kind of dying slowly. I've never put it in that language, but when I do, it sounds awful.
I started with, "Are you dying?" And you said no,
Yeah.
but then you said,
I don't know if I'm not dying, I'm just losing my ability to live. Yeah, take advantage of it. Life isn't guaranteed to any of us. Yeah. Thanks for giving me that perspective. I appreciate that.
He looks very familiar, and he also looks like the... Hello, Gorgeous. Oh, alright, sort of. He also looks like Marine 5. My kids asked me once, years ago, and I still don't know the answer, but these poor sods are kind of living both answers. But they asked me once, like, would I prefer to know how I was going to die or when I was going to die? I still don't know the answer. It's wild. And what film is that? Final Destination. Which one's the one with the plane? There was a line in that's always stuck with me. Like, it could be today. We're so confident. Like, 'cause we're so confident at least today's cool. And what that guy was saying about his child is, that's what was catching me the most. It's like, you know, when COVID first come in, now I have a sick child, and whenever they're in hospital, I stay with them. So like when COVID come out, and they were reading off all the people that were like high risk and that, and I was finding out I was high risk, I was terrified for that thought. If I'm gone, who's gonna be there to stay? Don't have to go through it by themselves. Like, that's a terrifying fucking thought. And since the pandemic started, I think we've stayed in hospital 3 times. And she's also gained a new condition. Even the last time we was just there September. She caught COVID, and she's high risk as well. It got really bad, so we got admitted to hospital. And it was the first time she of all the things she's gone through, it was the first time she asked. And then it triggered off her 2 other conditions. So we ended up being in there so long. Bless her. That's what frustrates me about the whole COVID situation. Like, it's cool to be scared of it. It's cool to not be scared of it. There's a large chunk of people that from the very beginning were just throwing a tantrum. So at first they didn't want to believe it. False flag, blah, blah, blah. Then it was like, oh, it's not that bad. It only affects certain people. Why don't we just lock them away? And then it was like, oh, lockdown, blah, blah, blah. And then it was like, oh, the vax, blah, blah, blah. And it's the social distance. They've complained every step of the way. And not just complained every step of the way. They vocalised that complaint in a sense that they believe it's all some big fucking lie. And it would be cool if it was individuals doing that, but it's not been individuals doing that. It's in the Western world. I'm fairly confident this crap isn't happening in places like in Asia or places where they haven't got the extra comfort, the extra security that we offer our citizens. But here we're so spoiled. But arguing about this whole situation, doctors are telling us one thing, someone on Facebook is saying something else, and for some reason we got to a stage where we're believing the person on Facebook over the person in the government, looking for reasons to celebrate. There's rumours on TikTok about the Pfizer vaccine. Oh my God, see, it's proof all along. You'd rather listen to Joe Rogan say, yeah, take ivermectin over your president, over the Prime Minister, over the Health Secretary, over near enough every doctor in the entire world. But because Joe Rogan says something else, no. And the dumb thing about that, you're refusing to take one thing. Some random Joe blog says, nah, but try this. And you go, yeah, fuck it. None of it makes sense. But reason why it's so frustrating It's because, and people ain't saying this enough as far as I'm concerned, people who have been like that, who have fought all the way through, been difficult walking into shops just to protest and film themselves like getting kicked out because they don't want to wear a mask and blah, blah, blah. Those people, those fuckers are responsible for a percentage of the death through COVID. Forget your conspiracies for a moment. Just imagine everything was true and the whole world tried to combat this virus. You cannot tell me that all the propaganda against it has not contributed to a percentage of the deaths. Therefore, you have blood on your hands. It carried on way longer than it needed to. More people died than needed to. If only 500,000 people will die from the next pandemic, our attitude is going to put it in such a state that 2 million people will die because of it. I mean, even listen to Donald Trump. That was the day I knew we was in trouble. Right? When Donald Trump, right at the very beginning, in front of reporters, when America only had known a couple of cases, and remember they didn't even bother start testing for bare months, but they knew of a couple of cases on a cruise ship. And the leader of the free world, in an instant, made it all about him. He said, at the moment, I'm paraphrasing obviously, he said, at the moment, we've got like 2 or 3 cases. I don't want them to let the people off the boat. That way we'll just stay with 2 or 3 cases and we would have been doing really well. He didn't want to let the people, he didn't want to let American citizens off a boat onto American shores to get healthcare, to get treatment, just because it made his numbers look bad. And this was when we was at like 10 deaths. From that moment, I knew it was going to be a mess.
About the cruise ship, has a decision been made?
It's a very good question. I would rather, because I like the numbers being where they are, I don't need to have the numbers double because of one ship. That wasn't our fault. And it wasn't the fault of the people on the ship either. Okay? It wasn't their fault either. And they're mostly Americans. So I can live either way with it. I'd rather have them stay on, personally.
We all know we live in a selfish world, but that was the proof. If you ever needed proof, that was it right there. Anyway, I love you guys.